In the heart they gather strong, pushing back the lefties strong. With the red banner held high, marching forward through the night. Promises of old will keep as the donkeys start to weep. Stars and stripes forever sway, in the land of the brave we stay. We've got the power now, in the heart of every town. We've got the power now, the Reds are going down.
With a flagpole planted firm,
golden dreams that won't decay,
marching proudly through the day.
In the eagle's shadow by, we find our strength and take our pride. Let the voices echo loud, tearing through the waiting crowd. We've got the power now, in the heart of every town. We've got the power now, the Reds are going down. Across the plains and mountains tall, hear the victory call. With courage and with might we strive, in the light of freedom's guide. We got the power now, in the heart of every town. We've got the power now, the Reds are going down.
The elephants marching with red in the air, handshakes and smiles showing strength everywhere. Trump leads a charge with promises bold. The new era shines, or so we've been told. Donkeys are hiding, feeling the blues, as the red, white, and blue take over the news. It's a brand new day, the GOP's in play, waving flags high as they dance and sway. Democrats hush, for change is here, as the trumpets played loud and clear. Decades have passed with the same old song. Now they say it's time to move along. Trump's in the spotlight with his charismatic charm, bringing the spotlight, raising the alarm. Elephants leading with the banner unfurled, the grand old vision shaping the world. It's a brand new day, the GOP's in play, waving flags high as they dance and sway. Democrats hush, for change is here, as the trumpets play loud and clear. Together they march, side by side, with a push for change, nothing too high. Red, white, and blue, it's a bold new year, as the trumpets play loud and clear. It's a brand new day, the GOP's in play, waving flags high as they dance and sway. Democrats hush, for change is here, as the trumpets play loud and clear.
Hello and welcome to Culturama, where on this show we are taking back tomorrow today. And on today's Halloween week episode, we have a lot to cover, but I just want to remind everyone watching today that on the goal of this show, what we are trying to do is to reclaim the zeitgeist of America through the conversations that we have on this show. We're trying to reclaim the traditional spirit of Americana and reclaim that zeitgeist aesthetic back into the United States. The one that we so did long ago through the induction of woke ideologies, the induction of rather primitive and questionable cultures, and postmodernism and critical theory. And what better way to reclaim the zeitgeist than to talk about big news media and big cultural issues that are impacting the United States. So hopefully we can dissect them and try to see what's going on. And on today's show, we have quite a bit to cover. The Catholic Church has apparently come out with a new mascot. And she is an anime character. We're going to be talking about that. And the big news story that I want to talk about, other than Trump's announcement and rally at Madison Square Garden, or Kamala's failed rally, frankly, with Beyonce, or lack thereof, Beyonce, I want to talk about Jeff Bezos basically dropping the apparent Kamala Harris endorsement that everyone was expecting, and how big media is apparently factioning off the ideological capture that we have been seeing for quite some time. And I frankly think this is the impact that Elon Musk has had on big tech and big media. And we're seeing major platforms like Facebook with Mark Zuckerberg pulling back from the political ideologies that we've been seeing them basically try to forward for the last, several years, since 2016. And we're seeing now the same thing with big media companies like the Washington Post, the media company that Jeff Bezos owns. So I want to examine that, and there's so much more that we have to cover today. And I am so happy to see everyone on the Rumble chat. If you want to chat directly with me or on the show, or chat on the Rumble chat, go to the Rumble link. I post that under all my posts before the show on Twitter or on Instagram as well when I link to the show. Primarily it's on Rumble. You can also chat on YouTube or on Twitter. You can comment under my posts. But if you want to directly contact me, I will say donate a Rumble rant, and that's a really good chance. There's a really good chance that I will see your chat and can interact with you directly. Also, if you want to text the show, we do have a line for that. It is 573-416-0635. Again, that is 573-416-0635. And I hope to see your text, and I'll be sure to read it when I can on the show right here live. Anyway, we have a lot to cover, and I'm going to pull up some of these stories. But first, what I want to examine right now with you is the Catholic Church and their new mascot that they have launched. Her name is Luce, I believe is how you pronounce it. I have a few thoughts about it, as well as a creator who has created that mascot, or had the big brain take to create her for the Catholic Church Jubilee. Now, I don't mean to offend any Catholics on this show. This is primarily just for, just to have a conversation, an open dialogue, if you will. But I do think that it's a pretty big deal that they have created this anime mascot. I do want to examine that because I thought it was a really interesting and creative move on their part. On the one hand, it could bring more people to the faith. On the other hand, I do have a few questions about the design elements and the name elements they have decided to go with the promotion of this mascot. So I want you to stick around for that. We also have a few offensive statistics to talk about on this show today. Yes, of course, I had that segment, an offensive statistics segment. I tried to talk about as many statistics as I possibly can on this show, because on this show, just like Ben Shapiro, we appreciate facts over feelings. So I'm going to be talking about that as well. But I want you guys to stay tuned. Please donate a Rumble rant if you can. Also, join us on the For Liberty Network on Locals. I will be posting a few things here and there on the show throughout the day today with the link for it. But again, you can just find us on Locals at the For Liberty Network. You can support Culturama, my show. You can support Austin Peterson's show. And you can also support the Liberty Tonight show every Thursday, our nightly comedy show. So find us on there. And anyway, I will be right back. I hope you guys stay tuned. I'm going to pull up my next story here, and I think you're going to find it quite interesting. So I'll be right back for that.
In the diner, sipping soda pop, jukebox tunes that never stop. I see fades print on different scenes, lost the culture on a different dream.
We walk down the same old street, but our stories never meet. Different worlds side by side in this twisting 50s ride.
The elephants marching with red in the air, handshakes and smiles showing strength everywhere. Trump leads a charge with promises bold. The new era shines, or so we've been told. Donkeys are hiding, feeling the blues, as the red, white, and blue take over the news. It's a brand new day.
All right, we are back here in Culturama. Now, I am going to bring up this next story. It is about tradcaths. Tradcaths, I'm talking with you, okay? We have a major development in the Catholic Church, but before I do that, I do want to look at some of the Rumble rants that we have here, or Rumble chats rather, because I do want to acknowledge you guys. I do appreciate your input on this show. I do see here that we have, I saw Cecilia H. She said, happy Tuesday and happy evening, y'all. Thank you for tuning in, Cecilia. I really appreciate your input on the show. I also appreciate your Rumble rants as well. And thank you for buying the merchandise. I know you have bought a few pieces from the Culturama shop, which I'll be pulling up a little later on the show today for you guys to see. We have new merchandise again. I think you're going to like it. But I do want to thank Cecilia for coming in. Barney Styles says, greeting and salutations. Thank you, Barney. Mr. Pig is here. He's really excited to listen about the Trump rally. I know he's a Trump fan. So we have a few of our, main fans here in the Rumble chat. Of course, AP for Liberty is here. Hello, Austin. Okay, let's get into the next story here. Let me pull up my... There we go. Okay, so this is what I found very interesting. This is like a story that I very much enjoy, okay? It's about the Catholic Church. And let me see if you guys can see this. Yes. So the Vatican unveils a mascot for 2025. And it's an anime girl called Luce. Now, someone can write in the chat or text me if I'm mispronouncing that. But I know it means light. And this is the design they came up with. And I just want to examine this with you guys a little bit just to see if we can come up with a conclusion here. This is what I wrote. Young people / tradcaths. We want the Mass in Latin. The Catholic Church. This is the best we can do. I thought that was pretty funny, but I do want to look into this. So this is the design of the mascot, and yes, this is from the actual Catholic Church. They have found an individual to design this mascot. Basically, it's a cartoon mascot. It's an anime girl. I found it very interesting with the muddy boots, the yellow rain jacket. This is unveiled for their Jubilee, which I'll get into the history of. I do find it a little interesting, but this is their Jubilee mascot for 2025. And we do have an article here that, this is my comment, by the way. I'll get into the naming options here in a second. But you can see people are very excited about this. Pope is a weeb confirmed. That is very true. Magnitude 33. I don't think the Pope is a weeb, but considering some of his political policy positions lately, especially as it pertains to immigration, I wouldn't be surprised that he is perhaps open to various new cultures. Good for him, though. But at any rate, this is a mascot. And, she is cute. I can see how she could be attractive to maybe younger audiences. That's exciting. But I did find it a little skeptical. Like, my gut reaction, and I do want to reiterate, first of all, I am a Protestant, so naturally I may be a little bit averse to anything the Catholic Church does. I just want to reiterate that that could be a fault on my part. However, I did find it rather interesting, some of the options they had considered for naming this character and other characters involved in this fictional universe, or in this individual's, this character's universe, because her dog's name is Santino as well. Let's look into a little bit of the history about designing this mascot creature. I don't know what you want to call her, but I do want to read this article here. So, ahead of the 2025 Jubilee, and for those that don't know what the Jubilee is, it is a historical holiday with the Catholic Church. Here is a Wikipedia page just to give you a quick explanation of it, but basically the fundamental idea of it was that it was a year of remission or universal pardon, as it says here in the Wikipedia. And basically what they would do, as the Catholic Church would do, is that they would release prisoners from prison. They would basically forgive any debts that you have accumulated over the last few years. And it's basically like a festival. I wouldn't call it a festival, but it's a celebration of forgiveness, essentially. And yeah, it's supposed to happen, I think, every 25 years, I believe. But it started off in the early 13th century. And I thought it was quite interesting. However, I did find that ideologically appalling, actually, in some ways, because I frankly found it almost equivalent to rather leftist ideology, but I will get into that a little later. This is, however, the primary history of the Jubilee in the Catholic Church. And I would say in the onset and superficially, it is a pretty great holiday. If you could call it a holiday, I guess it's a celebration of sorts. And it is rather interesting, and I think it's rather great that we have this culturally. But then I looked into the creation of this mascot. So the mascot's name is Luce, which means light in Italian. I guess on the onset, on the face of it, it's a decent name, right? But the first thing that came to my mind was, should I say the obvious? The first thing that came to my mind was Lucifer, but whatever. I'm thinking I'm just a conspiratorial freak. I've been called that before, so perhaps that's my problem. But then I came to find out that her dog's name, let me see if I can find it in the article here. Her dog's name was Santino, which I believe means sanctified. Oh my goodness, this is such a long article. But here, you can see here, there she is, and there's other characters. That's her little dog named Santino. He has a bandana that has the same logo that's on her jacket. She has blue hair, the muddy boots, and she has a pilgrim's cross, is what this article stated. So I don't know, what do you guys think about this? Out of all the names that they could have chosen for this character and her dog, again, and what you have already seen me comment on, out of all the names they could settle with, why did they choose Luce and Santino? I have to explain why Santino kind of caught my alarm bells. And I will admit, we are in Halloween season. This is Halloween week, as you can see. I tried to decorate it. I don't know if you noticed it, but I put a spider in the background. I hope you guys appreciate that. But anyway, we are in Halloween week. You know, I have rather dark elements, dark thoughts in my mind. I'm thinking of like scary stuff, right? I just recently went to a haunted house for the first time ever in my life, and it was quite eye-opening. So clearly I have rather certain things in my head. So maybe I'm just overthinking it, or I'm, thinking of these things, and I'm thinking of, Satan, Lucifer. But out of all the names they could have picked, why Luce and Santino for the two main characters? Also, they did describe in this article her eyes as having a seashell appearance, but the first thing I saw in her eyes was a rising sun. But regardless, the Bible does describe not just Lucifer or even Satan. I don't even think it directly mentions Lucifer specifically. It does describe Christ also as the rising star as well. So, it doesn't necessarily have to be satanic. I'm not saying it is satanic. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying, out of all the names, they picked those two. And here it says right here, her dog Santino by her side. You see, shells glimmer in her eyes, recalling the scallop shell of the Camino de Santiago, an album of the pilgrimage journey. I also believe it's said here in this article that her boots are muddy because of the journey she's taking throughout life, or the great pilgrimage that she's taking throughout life in here as well. So, it's very interesting. And she also will be exposed in the Expo in 2025 in Osaka, Japan. I cannot see that going badly at all as well. Good for them. Here are her friends. So, Semen Lengo, the Italian co-founder of the pop culture brand Tokidoki, designed Luce and her pilgrimage friends, is what they call it. Faye, Zin, and Sky, each outfitted in brightly colored jackets. So there you go. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Again, the names kind of like, caught me off guard, but I think that on the face of it, and this is kind of how I feel about like the Christian comics that are out. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what I'm talking about. You have like these, first it was like tract cards. That's how you tried to evangelize to people. A little later down the line, we had the creation of like cartoons, comic books, anime, even of the Jesus story or whatnot in the Bible. And those are all great elements and great ways to, I suppose, conduct outreach, especially to youth. I remember at my local church and the churches that I used to grow up with, they would have like video game night, try to get young people involved. And of course, people had different opinions and associations with that, and had different opinions about that, and said whether that's effective or not. At the end of the day, whatever you can do to conduct proper outreach, especially to the youth, because, that is a difficult time. It's a very tumultuous time, especially when you're a teenager with your faith. And so on one aspect, I take no issue with them creating an anime character, I suppose, if that's what the young people are into these days. However, on the other hand, I don't know. I kind of had a weird feeling in my tummy about it when I first found out about it. And then come to find out is that the creator of this mascot has a rather questionable past. And so what I found out from this tweet, now I still have yet to fully confirm this, but I did a little bit beforehand. I have not found any information to go against this narrative. However, the guy who designed the Jubilee 2025 logo is openly homosexual massage therapist named Giacomo Travisani, I think is how you pronounce it. Giacomo, my mistake. I'm sorry. Italian's not my language. But this is the individual. Now, is it wrong that he is homosexual and or a massage therapist? Of course not. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's rather interesting that in the Catholic Church of all places, they would have a man like this design a mascot for their Jubilee year. I find it rather interesting that the Catholic Church, again, supposed to be the less of the tolerant of the, from what I've heard, the Protestant branch of Christianity is supposed to be the more tolerant branch. So here are the some of the comments here. To be fair, the Catholic Church hiring gay dudes to do an art for them is a centuries-old tradition. Now, this is actually technically true, and homosexual men in the Catholic Church is not necessarily a novel concept anymore, nor has it been for the last several centuries. However, I just wanted to point that out, by the way. But again, to redirect my attention on the concept of the Jubilee, what I did want to say about it, and this is kind of gonna drive the point home here, is that the concept of the Jubilee, right? Again, an interesting, wonderful concept, I suppose, especially in the time periods and the traditional dates of 1300 and onward, especially in the Western Christian tradition, I would say is a rather positive one. And there's something really particularly amazing and revolutionary about Christianity. And this is where I get the big concepts out. But Christianity is a rather revolutionary idea because, especially with the establishment of the Catholic Church, or the universal church, so to speak, you kind of have this introduction of the universalization of ideals, and not so much ideals, but also human rights. And you don't see that so much in other religions of the time period when the Catholic Church really started off. In other religions, especially paganist religions or paganistic rituals and cultures, you don't really see the universalization of human rights like you see with Christianity. There's definitely natural caste systems that have been proliferated all throughout different empires and different civilizations and different cultures. But what's unique about Christianity is that it kind of broke away and broke down those castes or those different idealizations of different individuals. And what I'm trying to laboriously get at here is that with Christianity, what you see is kind of this equality of rights. And people may hate to hear this, especially in this stream and in the present zeitgeist that we're living in, where human rights is, I would say, the major virtue of the present zeitgeist or the present age right now. Or everyone has to be equal, men, women, gay, straight, black, white, everyone is equal, so much so that we're going to impose programs to force certain institutions to have an equal set amount of demographics at every department, at every level of operation. So it's difficult to listen to this and take this into account. And I understand this because we all kind of intuitively know that not everyone is equal, right? But thanks to Christianity and the onset of Christianity and the development of Western civilization, you do kind of see this inner virtue that we try to see people as equal. And I think that really was promulgated with the celebration like the Jubilee here, where it basically relieved people of all debts, which is a major element of the Christian religion and Christian philosophy. You also let go prisoners. Prisoners would be freed, and that says right here, during which slaves and prisoners would be freed, debts would be forgiven, and the mercies of God would be particularly manifest. This is a very interesting concept, and at the time when it was being heralded, it was revolutionary. But it's not revolutionary anymore. And it seems as though when I was reading this and learning about this, because again, I'm not a Catholic, I do not come from a Catholic tradition, so I did educate myself, I did set myself down and learned about this tradition here. And this seems to me, the first thing that came to my mind was that it was largely spiritually leftist and spiritually progressive. But obviously that's not difficult to detangle when you realize the influence that Christianity had on the development of a Western civilization. So what are we to think about this Jubilee now? I think we should still, or Catholics rather, should still celebrate it. It's a main component of the development of Western civilization, but is it really applicable to us today? When we see people, and we have to inundate ourselves with this idea of equal rights constantly and consistently, when clearly it has already been accepted as not only a major virtue, but it's almost a necessity that you have to believe in equal human rights. It's understood as that already. It's understood as that so much so that we really are freeing prisoners with the induction of certain candidates running for office. Once they get into office, we have seen the major impact of what happens when you do free prisoners. And is that really something that we should be adopting as a society? I'm going to get off my high horse here because I understand that this is probably very scholastic. So that's just my 2 cents there. I do want to look at the chat here briefly. And I want to encourage you guys to please donate a Rumble rant if you can. That would greatly help the show. It will help the show is launched and fully set, but I'm still developing it. I'm still trying to make it as creative as possible, as fun as possible. If you guys have any input on like what I should add to the show, on like maybe in my break screens, what kind of music I should add. I know a lot of people have been begging for more rockabilly, so I am going to try to put in more rockabilly for you guys. But if you have any input, please share it through a Rumble rant. I'd love to get your feedback on that. Or you can text the show. Again, the number is 573-416-0635. I may not get to all your texts, but I will assure you I will get to every Rumble rant. So please donate a Rumble rant if you can. I'd love your input on that. It looks like we have 33 viewers on Rumble, and I think we're counting on X. So I'm going to get to the next story here pretty soon. I think you guys are going to like it. I'm not going to give it away, but what I will say is that it is a rather offensive statistic, but I will be right back. So please stay tuned. And I'm going to pull up a statistic that I think will keep you on the edge of your seat.
Birds are crawling like bugs tonight. Freedom's calling, gotta rise and fight. We'll stomp 'em out with all our might. Watch 'em scatter in fear and fright. Crushing commies beneath our shoes like tiny pests with nothing to lose. Crushing commies, our anthem strong. Stand united where we belong.
towns with friendly neon signs. We were living in this stupid times, leaving our pursuits, praises, schemes behind. In our hearts we long to rewind.
Oh, the past was where the love belonged, singing our nostalgic song in a world that felt so right and true, without progressives to misconstrue.
Okay, welcome back to Culturama, where we're taking back tomorrow, today, where we are reclaiming the zeitgeist of traditional Americana. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. I want to look through a few texts that I have just received. I believe I have just gotten one text so far during this break. And this person just wrote, "Hi, is this Daniela?" I said yes. They said, "Cool." Whoever texted me, thank you for contacting me. I'm going to check on the Rumble rants as well here before I get to my next segment. Again, we're going to be talking about offensive statistics. And this statistic, I think, is going in line with the theme of the show, and that is not just big media, but free speech. How many Americans and what demographics actually prefer to protect free speech rights? I'm going to be talking about that here in a moment. I just want to check in with the chat. Oop, I see that Cecilia H is back in the chat. I see, let's see here. No easy answers wrote, "All my homies." Let's see here. "All my homies hate the Pinko Pope." Okay, very interesting. "This Pope has been wacky as hell," wrote L Dubs 78. Yeah, I have been rather interested in his few policy positions. He's been taking, I would say, some rather conservative positions, and then he jumps back to rather progressive policy position. He's not, obviously he doesn't work in policy, but he does ascribe certain values, and he does offer cultural diffusion and how we should view policy and engage ourselves in politics. And he has said some things about immigration, for instance, that I would say were rather progressive, and then some things that weren't progressive. So he's kind of all over the place ideologically. I found that quite interesting. I would like to know if there are any Catholics in this chat. I hope it didn't offend any Catholics, but I'm just going to say like it is too, at least as far as I'm aware and my experience. And I do want to reiterate that, yes, I am a Protestant, so obviously my analysis of certain situations like this and certain phenomena surrounding the Catholic Church may be a little bit critical. I'm just going to be honest. Okay, so I'm going to get into my next story here. Give me 1 second.
Counting numbers driving me mad, statistics piling, it's all a fad. Everywhere I look, numbers inside, adding this up, keeping me up at night. Oh, those figures dance and twirl in this cluttered number world.
Okay, and this is offensive statistics, everyone, where we like to talk about statistics that are offensive. And here's a statistic that I found here on Twitter just the other day, and I thought this was rather interesting and pertinent, not to just the topic of this stream, but just real life in general. Things are changing, and obviously with the induction of different cultures and different demographics of people, you have different viewpoints. And what naturally will occur is that you're going to get people that may not obviously align with some traditional Americana values that we are so used to in our culture here in the United States. And so things will change and viewpoints will change, and sometimes even constitutional values will change, apparently. The results from a new survey indicates that free speech is now ranked the second most important issue for Americans in the upcoming election, which is really gratifying to see. More important than healthcare, crime, and immigration. And at first I took this as a major white pill, because I think I'm a free speech absolutist. I think that free speech is one of the most, if not the most important thing that we can protect here in the United States, because not only does it make the United States so unique, but it is a right that all of us should be able to appreciate and fully enjoy. And as someone that comes from not a personal background, more of a familial background that had history with free speech rights being completely taken away and amended, I have family that comes from the Soviet Union. It is rather gratifying to see that a nation still protects those values, and that's what makes the United States so unique and special among the rest of the world. And obviously, I don't have to reiterate for you guys how important free speech rights are. I'm presuming that if you are watching the show, you are rather familiar, but it seems to be an increasing value within the general public. So I took this as a white pill. However, when I scrolled through the comments, and by the way, before I do that, you can see it scores 63% here. And also, if you look at the bottom ones, 38% racial and ethnic inequality, and then climate change shortly above that. I was actually shocked to see that racial and ethnic inequality scored so low. Naturally, with this current presidential election, abortion is going to be 1, 2, 3, fourth down. Healthcare, I'm not surprised, it's third down. I'm a little disappointed to see crime so low down, specifically as someone that is from the Pacific Northwest. But obviously, economy is going to be the top issue, and that's what I've been seeing, especially with this presidential election. It is a top issue. Most of us cannot afford groceries to the degree that we used to afford it, and it's rather unfortunate, especially for new and growing families. This would also extend to housing as well. But free speech being so high up, I was actually shocked to see that. And it's, again, it was rather a white pill. But then I scrolled down to these last few comments, and I was looking through, and this guy, I don't know what this account is. I don't follow them. It has 24K followers, though. But he posted this: a long-term threat to free speech is mass immigration. And I took a look at this statistic, and he doesn't cite it, so I'm not going to say that this is a legitimate statistic. However, this is the percentage that we have here, right? And I took a look at this, and it's like, wow, that's rather unfortunate. I'm not surprised if that is a true statistic, if that is the case, but this is a statistic that we're seeing, and I'm assuming it's projected to grow. It's from Pew Research Center. There's no year here, but this is like a statistic out of nowhere. But I just took a quick Google about this, right? And I tried to get more detail, and apparently it is confirmed. I pulled up this Cato Institute article. I have this right here, but this is a Cato Institute article. The state of free speech and tolerance in America. Now, I want you to ask yourselves what demographics would be most accepting, really, and which should be least accepting. So this guy cited the Pew Research Center for having Hispanics and African Americans not respecting free speech rights. Again, don't know what article this is from. I don't have the study to read up in front of me. I kind of figured that this, for all I know, this could be photoshopped in. But then I found this article, and it is from the Cato Institute. Now, whatever you think of the Cato Institute, that's on you. Okay, this was taken in 2017. It is a little bit older. However, when you pair it with this statistic, we're just going to go through it, and it pretty much aligns. It aligns pretty well. So let's take a look down here. I'm just going to cut through all the fat and go to the overview. the point that I'm trying to get at here. So you look through all these statistics and say, like, go through and demographics. It goes through liberals and conservatives. I'm not interested in the political demographics. I think we can all guess which what political parties would be least favorable towards free speech rights, what they consider free speech rights, what they consider hate speech, and what people of other political or ideological delineations would think. But then we scroll down to the demographic section, right? And I just want to take a look at this statistic right here. Okay. How does free speech operate? Let's take a look at this one by one, and I want you guys to ask yourselves a few questions as we go down reading these statistics, okay? Supporting this first one, supporting someone's right to say racist things is as bad as holding racist views yourself. We see whites score 34%, black 65%, Latino 61%. Next question, and this is of course the percent that agrees. Next question, people who don't respect others don't deserve the right of free speech. What percentage agree? Whites 36% agree, black 59%, Latinos 62%. Okay, Latinos scoring a little higher this time. Hate speech is an act of violence. Are you guys starting to see a pattern here? White, 46%. Black is 75%. Now, considering the history of African Americans here in the United States, that is, I would say, it's still higher than what I expected. It is understandable why that would be higher. Latino, 72%. Both really high here. Last question. Does free speech do more to protect opinions of the majority or more to protect the minority viewpoints? Percent protect minority viewpoints. Whites scoring much higher here at 64%. Black all the way below 40%. Latino 48%. This is rather interesting. Now, again, I want you guys to ask yourself a question. Why is this the case? Now, considering, again, like I said, the history of perhaps Black Americans, it's rather understandable on one part why they may react this way. But I also think a large part of this has to do with public education today and what kind of a viewpoint that we're pushing on, frankly, developing minds. And especially when you have, Black students, African American students, they might react a certain way to certain information that they are consuming in public education. And then you have Latinos here, which is also rather interesting. Now, we all have this conception in our minds that Latinos are, this, it's like an untapped reserve of conservative energy because they're so pro-family. They're pro-family values. They're hard workers. They're feeling the economy. They're pro-economy. Whatever you want to say about Latinos, but especially with immigrants coming into the United States. On the other hand, it seems like as far as our constitutional value as it pertains to the freedom of speech and the First Amendment, it seems as though they do not align equally with the rest of the United States as much. So this is obviously not a population situation. This is a demographic situation. And I want to ask you again, for the third time, why do you think this is so much with Latinos and Black Americans and why this is occurring right now? Could it be the induction of critical race theory, especially as young as middle school, and putting this into kids' minds and them growing up and thinking the things that they're thinking about American history and how American history and the development of the United States was primarily built, if not only built, on the backs of Black slaves, for instance. And then they teach this and they impart this into all minority students that are not so much a minority population anymore, or at least it's not becoming that anymore. Whites will be the minority very soon here, but regardless, they are putting this information into young students as early as middle school, or if in some public schools, even younger, that they're putting this idea of inequality in kids' minds. And they think that one of the reasons that may be the case and why there is so much inequality, unfair treatment, injustice is not so much also the history of the United States, but also pertains to some constitutional values. And you see this with the introduction of hate speech laws and our conception of what hate speech laws even are and what hate speech is. And that hate speech is violence, almost always. And that gets kids questioning. And growing up in adolescence and high school and onward, and young adults, especially in college, they grow up questioning, if they are actually conducting violence, but not just engaging in hate speech or throwing slurs, but even so in so much as, and I want to reiterate this, they're going to extend this to just asking questions or having certain conversations or even referring to history. Once again, censorship of books. We see this with Mark Twain's books, for instance, and Huckleberry Finn, I believe it was, with the censorship of certain words. And you see this now with all kinds of books that have been utilized and read in history with no problem, but now we can't do that in schools today because it's regarded as violence. It's directly threatening the very existence of certain students and certain individuals in public schools today. So I think this primarily relies on education, primarily public education, but I want to know what you guys think about this as well. Okay, let me check the Rumble chats here. I have a donation from Cecilia H at $10. Thank you so much, Cecilia. I very much appreciate that. Again, I love your contributions to the show, and I thank you so much for buying the merch and supporting the show. She wrote, practicing Catholic here, not offended at all, always open to dialogue. Thank you so much, Cecilia. You would be surprised how much pushback I get by talking about religion especially and questioning the Catholic Church. In fact, that's actually how I started my following on Twitter, is that I posted a pro-Protestant, I wouldn't say it was anti-Catholic, it was more of a pro-Protestant post. Now, I will say it wasn't merely just the content of what I wrote, it was also the imagery that I had utilized as well to promote the post. But one of the main ways that I'm not big on Twitter. I'm by no means big on Twitter, but one of the ways that I got a little bit of a following, or I started off getting a following on Twitter, was posting about Catholicism, Protestantism. I grew up as a Protestant. I went to a Calvinist private school. Just so you know, I went to a private school starting off, I believe, 6th or 7th grade. I believe it was 7th grade. I transferred from public education to private education. And my parents put me into not just any private Christian school, a private Calvinist school. It was very small. And I will say they taught me very well there. It was a classroom comprised of 10 students, and that was 3 grades. That was 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for that middle school. 10 students. It was a very small school, but it was a very good experience. Okay, those are the donations I got there. I'm going to be pulling up my next story here in a second. I have a lot more to talk about with you guys. We are almost reaching the about hour in mark, but I want to get some of your guys' opinions here on the free speech, if any of you. Barney Stiles wrote, slaves did not build this country. Correct, Barney. They may have provided some of the physical labor. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to deny, parts of history, obviously, even for political reasons, but they did not build the country. They did not conceptualize the country nor its values in the way that we not just cherish today, but we largely profit off today. Mr. Pigro, abortion always on the ballot forever. It's always going to be an issue. Scepter Sever 12 minutes ago wrote loose. That is the name of the new Jubilee Catholic mascot that the Catholic Church has just put out. I don't know if you came in late, but it is it's an anime character that they fashioned, and her name is Luce. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but it means light. The first thing that came to my mind was a bringer of light, like Lucifer. Lucy is like the feminized version of Lucifer. I think it is. But anyway, it's a bringer of light, and I just found that rather interesting. Anyway, okay. So we have quite a few more things to talk about here. And the next story, since we're coming up in the next hour here into the show, I want to thank everyone for coming on the show today. Especially during Halloween week of all weeks, thank you so much. But this is a big story. Jeff Bezos has decided not to endorse Kamala Harris for the Washington Post. I know, it's crazy. It's big news. Because what we have been seeing with big media for so many years is that they continually endorse the same candidate, right? The same ideological pundit that they want to see. And this year, we're seeing major changes. And I really think that this relates to Elon Musk and his ideological capture of a major platform, Twitter. Twitter is a utensil that people of our ideological ilk can use and have been using. But what we are seeing as other large platforms like Facebook, Washington Post, and others, which I'll get to, basically defect along with Elon and along with what seems to be big tech. I want to get into that. I want to also let you guys know to please visit the merch store. I think you're going to love what we have there. I'm going to pull up the page when I come back from the break. We have a lot more merch, new merch. I think you guys are going to love it. Please, if you want to support Culturama, if you want to see it grow big and do big things in the culture with my culture warriors that are watching, because we are in a culture war, please purchase something from the store. You can get something tangible from your donation. We have pillows, we have sweatshirts, we have mugs. I know it's still Halloween, but Christmas is coming up, so something to consider if you know someone that likes the show, or you can turn someone into a new fan. But also you can just get it for yourself. We have a lot more things in our store and more to come. Also, we are receiving donations through locals on the For Liberty Network. I would very much appreciate your help on there as well. You can just look at the For Liberty Network on locals. You'll find my show. You'll find Austin Peterson's show. You'll also find the Liberty Tonight show as well with the fellas that do it every Thursday. I think you guys will greatly appreciate that. So find us on locals. If you do not want to support us there, just find us on the merch store. It's at theforlibertyshop.com. I will be pulling that up here in a moment. So when I come back, we're going to be talking about Jeff Bezos, or what I like to call him, Jeff Based-Os, for not deciding to endorse Kamala Harris this election season. Stay tuned. I will be right back.
I'm glowing in the night, shining like a star in this atomic age, brighter by far. Untouchable energy, it's a glowing affair. Ready, I'll take you everywhere. I'm untouchable now, feel the power in the air. Radioactive rhythm, but sense without care. Electric and alive in this atomic embrace. Unstoppable now in this glowing space.
Whispers in the moonlight, shadows softly creep among tombstones, silence, lost secrets deep. A a shiver in a stillness where specters play with melodies of memories in ghostly sway.
In the graveyard mist we find
Haunting echoes intertwine.
All right, welcome back to Culturama, where we are trying to reclaim the zeitgeist back into the United States today. Let me check. Hold on a second. I think I got a text in here. Just want to make sure. I did get a text. Wonderful. So, before I proceed, I will try to read the texts. Every text I get that you donate to, that you send to the show. Sorry, not donate. I wish there was a donation. Not this time. But if you want to text the show, if I have some free time, I will be sure to to read it on live on the show. But I can't promise you every time. It just depends on the flow of the show, So take it like a gamble. But what I will do is that if you do donate a Rumble rant to the show, I will most definitely read it out loud. Unless you're writing like slurs, I will read it out loud. I will do my best. But if you want to text the show, it is 573-416-0635. Again, 573-416-0635. Now, my next story here that I wanted to talk about was Jeff Bezos and how he is based all of a sudden. Can you believe it? A major greedy devil corporation creator like Jeff Bezos based? I think so. I think we're seeing a major cultural tide happen in major. I keep saying this phrase, institutions in the United States, but there's another way I can really frame that. They are major institutions. Someone like Jeff Bezos, who owns major media companies, owns Amazon, is an institution in and of himself, just like Elon Musk is, just with his simple existence. He's an avatar of a major institution in the United States, and for him to come out and say that he's not supporting Kamala for the Washington Post is big, really big. So big that I wanted to touch on it here today, but I'm going to check the Rumble chat just here in a moment. Okay, it looks like we did not get any new donations here, guys. Let's try to get that going. Would be very much appreciated. So let me pull up the first story here, so I'm not going to get sidetracked. So Cernovich tweeted this. He said, "Unbelievable, Jeff Bezos calls out fake news and is going to demand media meet higher standards. The Elon effect is what I dubbed this." And this is absolutely true. I agree with Cernovich on this one. I do believe it is what you would consider the Elon effect. Ever since Elon bought and platformed X on his own, basically, and it was a major change. It wasn't the most smooth transition. It wasn't the most easiest transition, but what it did do is that I think and it's rather obvious in what it did do, is that it facilitated major growth within the ideological factions of the right wing in a way that we haven't seen before. And this is the article that Jeff Bezos had put out. Again, if you do not know, Jeff Bezos owns Washington Post, WAPO, and he has come out with this article basically stating that he will not endorse Kamala. He doesn't outright say this in the headline, but here it is. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but this is basically causing a radical shift in the ideological systems of the United States, but also in the levels of transparency here in the United States. Because for years, and we saw this especially during 2016 and also COVID and during 2020, for those of you that may have forgotten, I shall remind you, when COVID was happening, we absolutely could not post certain information on platforms like Facebook. And now we're seeing people like Mark Zuckerberg basically come out with their tail between their legs, not wanting to, well, they are kind of acknowledging, but they're not wanting to directly acknowledge why they're doing it, is that they understand that if Trump gets elected, they're pretty much screwed. And we would be seeing this in other major social media platforms. So I think that's why Meta and Mark Zuckerberg are basically coming out conceding to certain things in regards to Trump and some of their censorship. We have seen Mark Zuckerberg come out and concede that he was basically wrong before for doing the things that he has done. And I think what we're seeing this is the outcome of the Elon effect, like this Twitter user who I'm not particularly fond of, but Ashley Sinclair has stated that this is the Elon effect, causing a radical shift in the value of transparency and truth seeking. And what Cernovich has just dubbed as the Elon effect. I think what Elon Musk has done is doing major things within the right-wing movement culturally and politically in the United States. And now we're seeing this happen nationwide with people like Jeff Bezos. But what has occurred after this, and this is just silly. This is just absolutely silly. Over 200,000 subscribers, as soon as this happened, had fled from the Washington Post after he blocks a Harris endorsement. And here it is. This has come out today, actually, earlier today, with this update. And 200 people had basically canceled their digital subscription by midday Monday. So this has happened as early as Monday, yesterday. According to 2 people at the paper with knowledge of internal matters, not all cancellations obviously take effect immediately. Still, the figure represents about 8% of the paper's paid circulation and roughly 2.5 million subscribers. Now, I think this is all pocket change for Jeff Bezos. This guy's absolutely loaded. So I don't think that this number here is really as big of a deal as what this article is coming out saying. I do want to point out that this is in fact an NPR article. So obviously they're going to frame it in a way that makes it sound like it's worse than it is. 200,000 for the Washington Post is not that bad. I actually expected it to be quite a bit more, but here it states it's a colossal number. Former Post executive editor Marcus Baruchli, I think, told NPR. Obviously he did. Wow. A former Post executive, I'm not surprised he told the NPR that it's a colossal number. The problem is people don't know why the decision was made. We basically know the decision was made, but we don't know what led to it. I wonder what led to it. Chief executive and publisher Will Lewis on Friday explained the decision not to endorse this year's presidential race or in future elections as a return to the Post's roots. It has for years styled itself as an independent paper. If it's so independent, why has it been endorsing candidates in the past? A few people inside the paper credited the rationale giving the timing, however, just days before the neck-and-neck race between Harris and former President Donald Trump. So, yes, this, of course, states that it's due to inadequate planning and not an intentional strategy. Jeff or whoever in the team can say what they want. I think it's rather clear that this is rather intentional, and I'm not surprised that this is happening. Given the direct polarization that we are seeing in the United States and how polarizing not just this election is, but what American politics has been for the last, about decade, almost a decade, it's rather scary, and I'm surprised we're not in a civil war quite yet, but we're almost there. And I really think that the polarization is only going to increase. And so people like these nerds, frankly, that have so much power and powerful positions like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, you have Peter Thiel as well, in Silicon Valley, people like that, they see the tides turning and the shifts. Now Mark Zuckerberg has also jumped on the bandwagon because some of them have always been there. I think Elon was always kind of like that. But you see people like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg notice the tides turning. Some of them are scared. Some of them just want to be in on the know, if you know what I'm saying. They want to be just as influential like people like Elon Musk. And I really think that this Elon effect that Cernovich has stated is really accurate because with the buying of X, or formerly Twitter, it has changed the platform drastically. Because what they have been doing is that they were trying to ideologically capture all major institutions of free speech, or what was perceived as free speech, and all citizen speech that is directly correlated with influencing elections, with influencing not just elections, but more even political race outcomes all throughout the United States. Cultural changes, though, they also impact cultural changes, perceptions, viewpoints that permeates within our education system, that permeates within social circles, and that permeates within all other major aspects of influence. And so it's such a white pill for me, at least, to see that people like Jeff Bezos are noticing that. They're noticing the polarizing shift. And frankly, they just want to stay in power themselves. Because with the induction of not just DEI, but all these rigorous systems of mass control, they're going to not just extinguish cultural growth or civilizational growth, they're going to extinguish our economic growth, and they're going to extinguish the companies like the ones that Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos run. And they see that, and they're aware of that. And so here's another article. This isn't limited to just Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. This is also happening to places like USA Today. You think it just happened, it's over here with just Jeff Bezos. No, it's not just the Washington Post. Also, afterwards, we see the USA Today announce that it will not be endorsing Canada in 2024, along with the LA Times. Here's another article I found stating this. Washington Post and LA Times are not endorsing a presidential candidate. Here's a closer look at the controversy. Major newspapers abandoned Canada endorsements. Some journalists are calling it a betrayal of democratic responsibility. It's a democratic responsibility to have a severely large platform like USA Today, LA Times, WAPO, and endorse a candidate. Do you think it's really adding to the independent legitimacy that they have been cultivating for so long? I don't think so. So I'm not going to read this entire article off to you, obviously, but we have been seeing this happen. This has just been happening for the last few days. And, you know, this is rather a major question. I think this is spurring rather major questions about the cultural tide and the cultural influence in the United States today. But, yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think this is the right move on Jeff Bezos' part, or do you think he really is trying to basically snuff out some of the democratic responsibility that he has, or the free speech that he's promoting by not endorsing a candidate? Do you think this is just a big evil push by Trump to basically, you know, put these people at a risk of their jobs, put them into fear, and he's trying to basically extinguish all democratic responsibility and democracy in the United States, and people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are privy to that, and they're just trying to jump on the bandwagon to protect Trump from that and to protect themselves? It could be that. I'm not sure. Very much could be that case. Okay. Let's take a look at the chat here. Alrighty, so Entropy Nomad said it was a smart move. I agree, Entropy Nomad. The 1619 Project was journalism, writes Mr. Pig. Yes, that was an act of journalism. A jab, as we like to say, all journalists are bad. Okay, I have a few more stories I want to bring up here, but I am seeing a big lack in Rumble donations. I will not be reading any more chats unless you guys donate on Rumble, a Rumble rant. It will really help the show. It will be very much appreciated, and it's very much needed because I love where this show is going, and I love the fan base that we have already created. And it looks like we just have a donation. Come in. Thank you. No easy answers. $5, he says, no easy answers is the best. Love the show. Please read my text. People deserve the truth. Okay, no easy answers. I'll check the text line. I'll be sure. Oh my goodness, did I not read this out loud? My goodness. Okay, let me see here. I did get a text says here. No easy answers. If this text is from you, my apologies. I may have missed your text. My apologies. He wrote, minorities simply don't care about the country enough to value things that made it great. You are right. Schools paint America as a bad guys every single time. As a result, all of these things the people who built the country believed must be bad. I think there is a level of spite associated with holding views so contrary to whites. Yes, I would agree with you on with that. It's almost as if that all the things that we considered exceptional for so many years are just considered bad. And that's rather obvious. That's not so much the point I want to get at. I want to more ask why that's the case. Why are they promoting this view? Because anyone with common sense would stop and see that that is true. All the constitutional values that we have held up until now, clearly up until now, because certain demographics of people don't think that the freedom of speech is as important anymore. But all the views that we have held up until now is what made this country great, is what built Western civilization and the greatness of Western civilization and the American civilization. Why are they making us question that? I mean, obviously, it's what made us great. Do you really think they're stupid enough to think that's not the case? I don't think that's the case. I think they're aware of what they're doing. I just want to know why they're doing what they're doing. That's a bigger question that I want to ask you guys here, if that's what you really think. Anyway, yes, I will be back. Thank you for the texts. If no easy answers, that was yours. My apologies for missing that. If not, sorry for the individual who sent me that text earlier. I completely slipped my mind. But no easy answers. Thank you so much for the $5. I really appreciate that. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Your donations go a really long way in building the show and the Culturama. This is, I believe, my 3rd week. This is just my 5th episode. Yes, I'm really bad at math. I'm a woman after all. This is the 5th episode, and it would really much be appreciated if we get more donations coming in and we can build the show up bigger and better what it is. If you guys have any opinions on how I can better the show, if you want to, hear certain sound effects. In fact, I have a sound effect installed and I haven't been utilizing it. I need you guys to donate more money to the show, so it'd be very much appreciated. If you want something more tangible to be received upon donating to the show, you can visit our merch shop, which I will bring up the page when I come back from this commercial break. But thank you for standing by. And this next, we're going to be talking about the Madison Square Gardens rally that Trump has held and Kamala's failure of a rally, among other things. Stay tuned. I will be right back with that story. And send in those Rumble rants. I will be more than happy to read them out loud. Thank you so much.
Lights so bright, ideals flash in the night. Opponents stand side by side. Soldiers collide, nowhere to hide. This me dreams in the street. History on repeat. Our world's in a spin. Let the future begin.
In the heart they gather strong, pushing back the lefty's throng. With the red banner held high, marching forward through the night. Promises of old will keep, as the donkeys start to weep. Stars and stripes forever sway, in the land of the brave we stay. We've got the power now, in the heart of every town. We've got the power now, the Reds are going down.
With a flagpole planted firm,
golden dreams that won't decay,
marching
Okay, we are back. Welcome back to Culturama. I did see that I got another Rumble rant in, so I wanted to read that out loud. I apologize, and if I've been asking for too many donations, I'm just so excited to see the audience here, so I just wanted to do that. But let me see. I'm trying to open up the donation here. Okay, it was by Entropy Nomad, $5. Thank you so much, Entropy Nomad. I always appreciate your takes and your input on the show and your donations, of course. He wrote, joined late today. Here is 5 for 5. Thank you, Entropy Nomad. It is so appreciated. Before I get to this next story, I did want to cover something with you guys. Bear with me here for a second. This is not a plug. It's just for your convenience. I think this is something everyone should know, okay? I just want to share this with you, okay? This is the Culturama shop. I did not design this myself. I just want to bring attention to how beautiful it looks. Look at this. This is the link, apforlibertyshop.com. And this is the banner. I'm very pleased with how it looks. That's me fighting communist zombies. And as you can see, this is our merch shop. Now, I do want to reiterate the holiday season is coming. So if this is something it looks like you're interested in, something to consider. I don't know. I'm just saying. Here's a sweater, this pillow. And I'm going to get these products in and I will be displaying it here in person. But I want to reiterate to you guys that I would never be profiting off bad quality products. This is an Adidas quality sweatshirt. It comes in multiple colors. This is I've heard this is a very good quality mug. So this, I'm going to be getting this sent into me. I will be trying this on stream for all of you guys, a Galactic Glow moisturizer for all the ladies out there, or for gentlemen if this is something they can use. And we also have a body pillow here. It's smaller than your average standard size anime body pillow, but it is still unique and very, very lovable. There it is. Okay, so something to consider. I'm just saying. Anyway. Okay, so this is the big story here, and I think this is since we're reaching up to the 6 o'clock mark, well, my time, 6 o'clock, halfway mark of the show. I did want to touch on this because this is something I cannot escape. Trump Madison Square Garden rally, okay? Election season is almost over, but I am obligated to talk about these things because they directly impact American culture. But I just want to quickly go over this because this rally was a big deal. A lot of people did attend, and it was quite the success. And compared to Kamala Harris's rally, that has been going on, I think, a little bit before this rally. The Kamala Harris rally with Beyonce, or lack thereof Beyonce, apparently she actually did not perform as people had expected. Was a complete flop. And seeing how this rally has went compared to the Kamala Harris rally, it's kind of a big deal and how successful it was. So we do have a list of links here. Obviously, with the time we have, I'm not going to be watching all of them, but we do have a few key speeches here that we could look into. But I did want to touch on, this is a full event. I did want to watch the Tucker Carlson speech because I've heard, that was a pretty good one. I did not watch the whole thing myself, but I just want to go over a few key speeches for you. And also, here are some notable clips that we can look through as well, just to have a general idea of how it went. Again, not coming in with any agenda, just wanted to see how successful it was. But I do want to touch on this one. Barron is the king of the internet. Let's take a look at this one.
Along with Lara, Kimberly, and Michael, we have great people. We have Barron home. He's watching. That Barron is watching. He's the king of the internet. He's the king of the internet. Oh.
The king of the internet.
Who was that?
So apparently Barron, and I'm sure all of you guys are aware of this, is kind of like his father's vizier, visor, however you pronounce it. Oops. He's kind of like his dad's visor, and he's giving his father a great input on what he should do throughout his campaign. And it seems like that Barron, shockingly is not that bad of a vizier. how do you vizier? I think is how you classically pronounce it. A visor. He's not that bad of a visor, and it's funny that his father is roping him along with this, but it seems like Barron wants to be involved in this more than he's letting out. Here's another classic clip I think we should watch. The Hulkamania doing the Trump shuffle. Let's take a look at this one. Look how happy. So, how do you guys feel about the complete hijacking of the RNC and the Republican Party and the Trump campaign that has been happening here within the last couple months? I wasn't too pleased with the RNC, frankly. I think Hulk Hogan was funny. You guys are going to hate me for this. I wasn't pleased with the Hulk Hogan appearance during the RNC. I really wasn't. I was a little bit detached from that experience. It is entertaining. I don't know if it can be taken seriously, but sometimes you just kind of have to let loose and let things happen. This is what the American people want, and this is a hijacking of American culture and the conservative culture, mainstream-wise is happening, and we have to acknowledge that. So, with all due respect, I'm not a fan of it, but if this is what the conservative movement thrives off of right now, and if this is what is making the conservative movement grow right now, then by all means, let's just let it happen. I'm just gonna lean back, let it happen. I'm not gonna ask any questions. Here's another clip, Dr. Phil. Now, I appreciate Dr. Phil. If you say these things in Hollywood, you ain't got a job. Problem is, I don't need one. Let's take a look at this one.
Donald Trump Jr. here with an urgent message about America's irreversible path towards financial.
There we go. The Rumble ads are ridiculous. I'm sorry, guys. Okay.
But I'll guarantee you, when Beyonce, George Clooney, De Niro, and Lizzo come out and say they're for Kamala Harris, when they all come out and say they're for Kamala Harris, did you read anything or hear anything in the media criticizing it? No. But you watch what happens tomorrow morning when people find out I came here to talk to you.
Jake takes the drink of water. Sacred.
You say this in Hollywood and all of a sudden you ain't got a job.
You ain't got a job.
I don't need one.
Dr. Phil always tells it like it is.
I don't need a job because I got you. And I've got a question for all of us. Have we lost our minds? We have the First Amendment in America where our government has said we will pass no laws to infringe on our freedom.
And that's the thing, is that they're not trying to pass laws directly. What they are trying to do, and what they have been doing for the last 60 or so, I have that. Do you hear that Southern twang just from listening from Dr. Phil? What they have been doing for the last 60 plus years now is that they have been conducting the ideological capture. Again, it's that phrase I keep saying, but it's the massive ideological capture of all major institutions, academic, private business, culturally, politically. They have been doing it for the last 60 plus years. So they're not going to impose direct legislation to impose your First Amendment rights. Absolutely not. But what they will do is that they will slowly do a drip feed induction of these ideas for the youth and also for the present generations as well. But they're trying to change your minds, reorienting that, trying to change your minds about what hate speech even is. It's trying to get you to question what violence is and whether words can be violence and what hate speech is. So it's proliferating throughout the American culture. So I don't appreciate that he framed it like that, but it's more insidious than that. But it is happening, and it's good that we have people like Dr. Phil and others too. I'm surprised Dr. Phil showed up here. As far as I know, he was a conservative, but as far as I was aware, he tried not to take any major ideological positions, at least throughout his career. So it was interesting to see him here. But Anyway, this Chinese woman clip, apparently I've heard was a major classic. I haven't seen it yet, so this is my raw reaction here. Let's take a look. Please don't let there be ads. My God.
Hey folks,
There's an ad.
Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves.
Go to your kitchen right now and try
People
this
gotta make
turmeric
money, I
hat that
understand.
outshines
I've
Ozempic
been
for
shilling
shedding
my
2 or more
content for the
pounds
last,
almost overnight.
hour and a half,
Okay,
so-
so everyone.
You heard it right here, folks. 2024, folks.
Chinese, we're Chinese first generation. We love Trump from our bottom of the heart because we know Trump is the only one can save America. Kamala is so stupid. She is so low. IQ equal no Q, no qualification to be the president. You shall stay away from that position. You already lost the position. You lost our trust. You lost our vote. You just need to go home, to stay home. You cannot do anything to save America. You are so stupid. You don't know anything. You cannot even answer any question from the camera, from all the media. How you can be able to
She is fired up. She kind of reminds me of my Chihuahua. Good for her.
stage to fight
She's
for
fired up.
America,
She's-
to protect American people, to protect all the world. You are not qualified. You just need to go home. Let Trump to save America, to save the world, to put
The
America
word.
first. If America to be strong, to be saved, and then America can save the whole world. Trump, we love you. We love you forever. Never ever surrender. Fight, fight, fight. Fight for Trump. Fight, fight, fight. Fight, fight, fight. Trump, we love you so much, Trump. You are the best president in our lifetime. We so appreciate here as the first generation of the Chinese people. We are so grateful for America, for American people. We are immigrants, but we come from the front door, not from the border.
The
Legally
guy's just-
cross the border.
The guy's
We
not
don't
moving. He likes what he's hearing.
welcome those kind of
This-
people
this dude right
cross
here.
the border to come to America,
That's
to
right.
destroy America, to kill American people. We cannot allow those people to come to our country anymore.
There's still a whole minute of this, by the way. I'm just like, this is my raw reaction, by the way.
We need a president.
It's one letter. R versus L. It's one letter every time. It never gets old.
And to protect our country, to save the border, to let the Kamala, let the
Kamala.
Biden to
That's right.
stay at home, to keep away from the White House. America first. America will be the best country in the world. Thank you, President Trump. This is Caroline Trump. We love you. That's the first one you gave to me in the 2016. I'm the first volunteer in Trump building. When you come from the elevator, we know you
He's
are
smiling
become
now.
the best American president in the world. Thank you, President Trump.
Thank you, ma'am. Wow. A resounding support.
I'm gonna like that video
Madam Vice-
because you cannot. The thing with immigrants is that, and I come from a family of they're citizens now, but I came from a family of immigrants. Is that you cannot take the happiness of the people that come into this nation for coming in for the right reasons. And you know, clearly she's someone who's passionate about the just opportunities that America has and the opportunities that Trump is letting people finally perceive after, you know, just especially since the last administration and the lockdowns that we had, the utter dissatisfaction and disappointment and just the worthless nature of the state of America right now is so unfortunate. And there's little hope in terms of what's really happening in our country. And, you know, say what you will about Trump and his persona or how he presents himself, but he is offering more of a aura of hope and more than Trump or Kamala, or I'm sorry, more than Biden or Kamala have done. And I think that's rather obvious. You can say Trump about his even, you know, some of his previous policy positions, although I think they were rather universal throughout the entirety of his political professional career. But he does have more of a hopeful message. He is trying to better the country, the economy, and our prospects as a people, as a country. And she sees that. Anyone who comes into this country sees that. And I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm not anti, like, all different cultures from the one culture that we have had here historically in America. I'm absolutely not. I come from a family of immigrants, so I would never say that, obviously. I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot here. I am for, obviously, selective immigration. I think we need to be very selective with it, especially right now. But when you do have those immigrants that do come in with a real skill, but also real good skill output, but also with a real message of hope, and they do want to better the country as well as themselves, that is, I think, one of the main defining elements of what the United States is and what it is for the world. It is that, like, beacon of hope for people like that. So she has a fairly strong accent, so I'm assuming that she is a newcomer. But the other sides got lots of crazy endorsements. Swift and Eminem, Leonardo DiCaprio, Beyonce. It's a Diddy party. I don't know what this clip is about. We can watch this one lastly, and then I'll move on to the other songs. I'm sorry. Here's a closing song. I'll move on to the other stories. I do want to watch this, though. Okay. So these are all the celebrities endorsing Kamala. Let's look at Holly Weird here for a second.
The other side's got a lot of crazy endorsements. Swift, Eminem, Leo DiCaprio, Beyonce. Every day the Democratic Party looks more and more like a P. Diddy party.
That's right.
Oh.
The diddler,
okay.
P. Diddy.
Okay, that's what you guys want. All right. Heck yeah. It's a cool black guy with a thing on his head. What the hell is that? A lampshade? Look at this guy. Oh my goodness.
Okay. Yeah, Holly Weird is a real thing. Yeah, they're all in on it. Obviously, they're not people of principles. Do you really think Leonardo DiCaprio is a man of principles? I don't think so. Okay, so that was the Madison Square Garden rally. Obviously, we didn't see all of it. I wasn't going to sit here and watch all of it. I did want to watch some main clips with you. But whatever you may think of it, I'm sure it was chaotic in its own ways, but it doesn't even compare to what the Kamala Harris rally was along its shortly afterwards. And this is what happened with the Kamala Harris rally. She lured in supporters with the promise of a Beyonce concert, a free Beyonce concert, no less. And when they realize that they have basically been tricked into coming to this rally, they boo her. They booed the fact that Beyonce couldn't come on stage. And then when Kamala came on stage, it sounded like they were booing her, and some of them were. And so let's take a listen about how this feels and sounds like here for a second. By the way, total disaster, all caps. I fully agree with that. It was such a mess, and it upset so many people. And by the way, according to people that had attended the rally, they were talking about how they were waiting for hours in the sun to get into the rally, and how it was hot and it was demanding of their physical faculties. And, you know, this was to get in and to also leave the rally. Also, I've heard from other people that as soon as they found out that Beyonce wasn't attending, wasn't performing, people were just like in droves leaving the area and leaving the rally. So there was a good chunk of people that did not stay to even boo her. But this is what happened. And these are Kamala supporters yelling at a child in a stroller. So people are getting a little heated at this point. They're getting a little upset. You know, they're not going to be able to watch their queen Beyonce and worship her on the altar like they have done for so long, but instead they have Kamala to worship instead. And that just wasn't something that wasn't on their roster that day. But we can watch this. Right. Look at how angry. Let's take a look here. There's a child in a stroller. Tensions are clearly high. People aren't too happy. This is no decorum whatsoever among Democrats. You know, say what you will about Republicans. You know, Republicans, and I'm the first to admit this, have their own issues, okay? I'm not the biggest fan. I'm one of those issues where, and I think that most people can agree with me on this. I'm going to sound like a fence sitter here. What else is new? But, you know, it's like the lesser of two evils, especially right now. I would agree with that. But at the end of the day, as far as my experience is concerned, Republicans have always had a sense of like honor and decorum, right? Especially in events like these. And, you know, when tensions are high, you cannot expect a Democrat to keep composure. It's just something in their DNA. You can almost tell in their physiognomy that they're just the weaker link of the human race. And clearly you see it here in the flesh, or in video format, but they are yelling at a child of all things, of all peoples, and that's what we have to deal with. But as far as, you know, during this episode, we've talked about the rallies. We've talked about also the issue of free speech. We've talked about major platforms trying to promote the idea and protect the idea of media independence in the risk of upending democracy in the United States. But we also have seen how major media institutions, since the Madison Square Garden rally, are coming out with absolute propaganda. And I want you to ask yourself if this is really accurate information. So what we have here is a post by MSNBC splicing footage of basically a Nazi rally from, I believe, 1924. But so it's like a fascist rally, actually. But they spliced this footage with the Madison Square Garden rally footage. This is from MSNBC, and this Twitter user has brought attention to it. Thank you to this guy, Dr. Simon Godek. And he also calls himself a free speech absolutist, and saying how MSNBC should be canceled for this, so rightfully so. But here we go. Let's watch it in full.
Now, but that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader... Oh, my
mistake. I got a different date for the 1924. You hold on to that 1924. This happened in 1939. What I wanted to bring attention and what happened in 1924 is even more chilling than this entire thing, okay? But let's finish up this clip.
Adolf Hitler packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally.
So they're
a rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
Once again. Yeah, so that's what we're dealing with here.
But that jamboree happened.
Oh, my mistake. They're spicing in Nazi footage, basically, with the Madison Square Garden rally. Does that sound like it's... let me ask you a question. Does MSNBC sound like a very accurate and legitimate news source by doing this? Do you think that they are really bringing attention to something that should even be brought attention to in the midst of everything that's happening, in the midst of what's even happened with the Kamala rally and how much of a failure that has been? I don't see a lot of people talking about that actually, except what's considered far right-wing sources. But this is obviously not only silly, it's not only utterly damaging, but it's just absolutely psychotic. I think that's obvious. But it's interesting that they are bringing so much attention to this 1939 rally with these fascists. But what they did not bring attention to, and what they have seemed to have slipped their mind, is another rally that happened. And this is where I got my dates mixed up. But in 1924... there was a Democratic clan bake at the DNC convention at Madison Square Garden right here. So here you go. So at a convention in 1924, there were hundreds of Ku Klux Klan attendees as delegates at a Democratic convention. And here we are. You see FDR delivering the nominating speech for Alfred E. Smith at the Democratic convention. At Madison Square Garden, New York, in 1924. And so, interesting for MSNBC to splice this fascist footage in this Trump rally and saying basically how he's not, a threat to the United States, a threat to American democracy, a threat to our own longevity as a nation. How he's promoting these far-right authoritarian, fearsome ideologies and rhetoric, and how it's so damaging and dangerous for our culture and our people. But then they ignore this. Not even that long before. This is 1924, okay? They had a Klan bake. Democratic convention, FDR. Sounds almost like it would go against completely the narrative that MSNBC is trying to spout here, by recognizing that there was a major issue of racism within the Democratic Party at that time period, and how that would go against their narrative of what's considered evil and good right now. So, I find that rather interesting information. I'm just going to leave it at that. So I want to get out with the chats here. I want to make sure I didn't miss any. Okay, I have another donation, $5 from Barney Styles, 26 minutes ago. I'm sorry for coming in late here, Barney, but thank you so much for the donation. It is very appreciated. He wrote, "You're awesome, Daniela. Pony up the Doughboys. Bitcoin is at 72,000. I know y'all got some cash. Check out my video, Trump is a Nazi, after the show." Oh, thank you, Barney. I'll try to look at that. If I have some time here, maybe I'll watch it on the show. I'm just going to put it in my link tab here. I have you up here just in case. If I have some time, maybe we'll take a look at it. But thank you so much for the donation. It's very much appreciated, Barney. Whatever we can get to support the show. I'm so thankful for your guys's Rumble rants. You really have no idea how far it's going in developing the show and managing the show. And, this is not just all the show is going to be. I'm going to add a lot more segments. I'm going to be adding a lot more, hopefully guests on as well, and as many interviews as I can. I'm going to be adding more props, more material, more sound effects. So your donations really go a long way, and it's very appreciated. If you want something more tangible for your donation, I do implore you to go check out our shop at theforlibertyshop.com. You get, something out of it. You can get a mug, a pillow, a sweatshirt, whatever it may be, but you'll get something tangible out of it. But if you just want to make a one-time donation or a consecutive donation, if that's something you're interested in, you can also follow us on Locals at the For Liberty Network as well. And you can support Culturama through that also. So we have just a couple more stories coming up. I only have, looks like 17 more minutes or so. So I will be right back. But thank you so much, guys, for watching the show and attending. And I'm going to be bringing up just a couple more stories before we continue. And then I have a little surprise. I did have a poll on my Twitter just the other day. Actually, it was last week. What am I saying? I had a poll about what I should dress my dog up as, and a lot of you voted, and you'll be surprised with the answer. For those that are in the know, you already know what his costume is, but if you guys stick around till the end of the show, I will pull him out. I will drag him out of his cellar to show you guys his costume for this Halloween. It is Halloween week, so I wanted to kind of, have fun with that here. So if you stick around till the end, I will show you my dog Leo's costume. Now, I do want to reiterate, my dog is severely retarded, and he is severely dysgenic, and I saved him from being drowned from his previous owners. That is a true story. And he's 4th generation inbred. But I love him with all my heart. And every year for Halloween, I dress him up and various things. One year he was a witch. Last year he was a pumpkin. This year, I left it up to you guys to vote in a poll last week for what he should dress up as for Halloween. And I will be pulling up that shortly for you guys to take a look at. So if you stick to the end of the show, I will drag him out for you. Maybe if I get a few more donations in, I will be sure to do that. I don't know if he's in the mood to come out. We'll see. But anyway, I'll be right back. Just with a couple more stories. And then, we can take a look at Leo afterwards, if he's up for it.
It's a crawling like bugs tonight. Freedom's calling, gotta rise and fight. We'll stomp 'em out with all our might. Watch 'em scatter in fear and fright. Crushing commies beneath our shoes like tiny pests with nothing to lose. Crushing commies, our anthem strong. Stand united where we belong.
In the 50s, watch it soar, count down from 10, roar. Bright flash like a sun, race begun, that'll be the same no more. The ground shakes, hearts race, a new age we embrace. Feel the power, atomic hour, changing every place. Oh, it's the atom bomb, the future's come along, giving destiny like a 50th song.
The elephants marching with red in the air, handshakes and smiles showing strength everywhere. Drum beats are charged with promises bold. The new era shines, or so we've been told. Donkeys are hiding, feeling the blues, as the red, white, and blue take over the news. It's a brand new day, the GOP's in play, waving flags high as they dance and sway. Democrats hush, for change is here, as the trumpets played loud and clear. Decades have passed with the same old song. Now they say it's time to move along. Trump's in the spotlight with his charismatic charm, bringing the spotlight, raising the alarm. Elephants leading with the banner unfurl, the grand old vision shaping the world. It's a brand new day, the GOP's in play, waving flags high as they dance and sway. Democrats hush, for change is here, as the trumpets play loud and clear. Together they march, side by side, with a push for change, nothing too high. Red, white, and blue, it's a bold new year, as the trumpets play loud and clear. It's a brand new day, the GOP's in play, waving flags high as they dance and sway. Democrats hush, for change is here, as the trumpets play loud and clear.
Welcome back to Culturama. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to tonight's show. It has been a really fun show. We have covered quite a bit here. We've covered the Madison Square Garden rally. We've covered the absolute fail of the Beyonce rally with Kamala Harris. And, we've covered, obviously, the issue of free speech and how important it is in the United States right now, and how it is a top issue in the election, but I have my doubts on how long it will stay as a virtue of the American culture for so long. So hopefully that you can continue, supporting those viewpoints with your friends and your family, because that really is important. This show is just fun and silly, but at the end of the day, we are trying to promote real American values here on this show. And we really are trying. I'm really trying to reclaim at least a portion of the zeitgeist. I'm just a one-woman show. Like, obviously, I won't do that here by myself, but it's not possible without people watching the show here today. And that's why I appreciate every single one of you guys' donations, because we are a free speech platform. I am streaming on a free speech platform for the most part. I'm streaming on Rumble, on X. We also stream on Twitch and YouTube, so it's not completely, we use what we have access to. But as far as my intentions go, it is a free speech show, and I am trying to promote the values, classic Western American values on this show and with the conversations that we have here. So I very much thank you for your support. And every donation, every dollar, every $5, $10, $20 or more goes a long way in the development of this show and the viewpoints that we espouse on this show here today. And before I get to that, I just want to check a couple things. I just have a couple more stories here that I think you guys will find quite interesting. Someone wrote, okay, $5 from Grizz Cheese. Thank you so much, Grizz Cheese. I always appreciate you and your comments and your donations. He just wrote, Leo, yes, if you wait till the very end of the show, we just have 10 minutes left, so I may not talk about all the stories here I have lined up. But yes, if you make it till the end of the show, I will bring out my severely dysgenic dog. He is severely inbred. He is dysgenic. He has a very poor physiognomy. He has a very low IQ level. I would honestly say it is room temperature, if not even less. But he is a leftist. What do I mean by that? I will bring that up if you wait till the end of the show and if you look at his Halloween costume. But I do want to bring attention to this one story here before we proceed to that. I have this story right here for you. I just want to bring this attention to this story. This is relative to where I live. It is personal to me. Ballot drop boxes are exploding in Washington and in Oregon. I live in Washington State, and not where this has happened, but in Clark County, Washington State, and also in Portland, Oregon, we have been seeing ballot boxes basically explode and people put explosives in them. Leftists are absolutely losing their minds. Now, why do I think these are leftists doing that? I'm not entirely sure. Well, I can't say that for certain, but I do have an idea of why this is happening, and I'll bring that up here in a second. But here's a footage. So there they are, Oh, look at all those ballots completely burned. Absolutely nuts. What a mess. Now, this has primarily been happening in Clark County, Washington State. Now, for those that don't know, Clark County in Washington State is one of those few counties that are conservative in Washington State. Washington State's kind of split up in two areas. The left is primarily blue, and that's why we are a blue state, because the majority of the votes come from the west side, where Seattle is, and Olympia. Though the east side is more red, but that's more rural, and they do not account for much of the population of Washington State. And so what has been happening is in Clark County, we have been seeing this happen. And I really thought to myself why this would be the case. And the case is that there is a very close race in this area between Joe Kent and his Democratic opponent, Gluzenkamp Perez. Very long name here. But the Democratic Congresswoman and Republican challenger are at odds over immigration specifically. And I think this is why leftists are very much losing their minds over this. And what you will see with the leftist, progressive, critical mind virus is that they cannot accept any contention that comes their way, especially as it pertains to immigration. We also see foreign policy and replacement plans for the Interstate 5 bridge. But because we are reaching such a close race here, you are seeing that Washington State is completely falling apart due to this race. And I think what's happening is that they are trying to explode ballot boxes. This has been happening as early as Monday morning. Leftists simply cannot accept the fact that they could have a conservative representative yet again in their state. Now, Clark County has a very divisive history. It has been primarily red for its time being. But due to Joe Kent's run, unfortunately, we have lost a representative that has been conservative. However, they have voted in a Democratic congresswoman. And I think that what is happening, and Clark County does touch Oregon State, so that's kind of like the blue creeping up. I should have pulled up a map here. But basically what is happening is that because of Joe Kent, Joe CIA Kent, I have my own opinions about him. But he is bringing in more of a reform in Washington State more than I think any other candidate is. And I think leftists are completely losing their minds over this. It's quite unfortunate. So for those of you that are voting, please be careful. Leftists are crazy and they are going to try and maybe not kill you, but trying to completely decimate your vote, especially if you are a mail-in state like Washington State. Anyway, I'm going to bring out Leo. I know that you guys probably want to see him, so I'm going to bring him out. Let me see if I have... Nope, okay. Let me see if I have any more texts here, just in case. Okay, it looks like I do not. So I will be right back. For the last 5 minutes of this show, what I will do is that I will bring out my retarded dog. He is severely dysgenic and severely inbred. I think you guys will appreciate what he is for Halloween. So give me a second and I will show that for you. If any of you can appropriately guess what he is for Halloween, write it in the comments. Leo's INT is 3 and he's only slightly higher than his CHA. And Trippy Nomad wrote, yes. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to be right back. Yes, he does have retard strength, no easy answers. Anyway, I will be right back and I'll bring him in and I'll pull up the poll for you. For those who have been paying attention last week, I did a poll for what Leo should be for Halloween. And this is the answer that won, so I dressed him up as his answer. For those of you that remember, please write it in the chat if you remember what that was. But at any rate, I will be right back and I'll pull him in. Okay, so you guys asked and I delivered. Here's a poll that I had done here. What should my Chihuahua dress up for on Halloween? Everyone, I mean, there was a good split between cute pumpkin and Antifa. My dog is rather round, so I'm sure a good portion of you wanted the pumpkin, but Antifa won. So Leo is Antifa for this Halloween. Here he is, everybody. There he is. There's my boy, the highly dysgenic dog right here in the flesh and display. You can see his little mask right here and his little Antifa leather jacket right there. I did not have a miniature knife or pepper spray for this one, but it's very simple costume. All I have to do is just take a black sock, kind of like a burglar mask, and put it on him, but it's a little uneven, Leo. But yeah, and what also helps to make this costume more realistic is that he is rather plump. And as we all know with leftists, they are all rather plump for the most part. They're rather either plump or anorexic. But and he has a leather jacket here. And also his IQ is severely low. I would say maybe it's less than 10. So that also helps with the realism of this costume. But yes, my dog is Antifa. As an Antifa super soldier, a leftist. He is in a polyamorous relationship as well. He is Episcopalian also. So this is dog Leo, my Antifa super soldier, for Halloween. And for those of you that have been paying attention to my Twitter, you probably already know what I am for Halloween. If you don't, tune into the next show this Thursday. I will be dressing up as a witch for Halloween this year. So if you have nothing else to do this Thursday evening, tune into the show. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. I think you'll enjoy it. I'll be in my witchy outfit, in my rather short dress. Leo won't be accompanying me. He's going to be busy trying to break into a few private businesses and beat curb stomp a few skulls in the sidewalk. I'm kidding. Antifa does not have the courage to do that. Okay. I want you guys to have all a good evening. We're going to say goodbye. Thank you for tuning in today's show. I highly appreciate it, and I hope all of you have a good rest of your evening. Thank you for tuning into Culturama. On this show, we are trying to reclaim the zeitgeist back into the United States, and where we are trying to introduce the traditional spirit of Americana. We hope you will tune in this Thursday again for more political and culture drama. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great evening.
In the heart they gather strong, pushing back the lefty throng. With the red banner held high, marching forward through the night. Promises of old will keep, as the donkeys start to weep. Stars and stripes forever sway, in the land of the brave we stay. We've got the power now.